Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 607. Today we will be playing the Ranger and Backpack Battles. And so I spent the past couple of days out here just tanking all of my LP. I've been trying to make it work. I've been trying to get something that isn't just completely obnoxiously bad, using what I think is probably the worst bag in the game in the Vineweave Basket, and what is probably the worst subclass item in the game, the Yggdrasil Leaf. And so I've been out here doing the dirty work just for you with the basket and the leaf, trying to make something work. It doesn't seem like it's ever going to be any good, but I do want to present the findings to you nonetheless. And so, to get you up to speed with these items, if you're not familiar with them, the Yggdrasil Leaf is the big one that we're going to be building around today. It seems like it should be reasonably powerful, right? If you say have six nature items hit by the buff, you get to kick off with 12 mana and then 6 of the hearts, and so you should be able to do something with that, right? To me, like a lot of the most important aspects of the game are what you can do like right now or do incredibly fast. And so being able to start off the battle with 10, 12, 15 mana, or being able to start off the battle with 8, 10, 12 of the hearts should give you just a gigantic amount of upside in terms of really powering up what you want your build to do. But at the end of the day, it's kind of hard to actually find the stuff that you can actually use with these, and they don't work synergistically. There's not a ton of items to where they care about both mana and they care about hearts. And so, to me, what I've found to be the most important thing with the Yggdrasil Leaf is if we're able to get all of the items back up here, we're going to be chasing down the heart container. To me, these have been the most consistent and strong ways to actually come out and take advantage of these items. Having it right at the start of the battle, gaining either 90 with one heart container or 180 max health with two heart containers, and then also getting that extra empowered and healing bonus is what we're going to be aiming to shoot for. And so ideally what we're going to have start with each battle is we're going to have two heart containers, we're going to have the Yggdrasil Leaf, we're going to have 3 or 4 of the healing herbs, and then right as the battle begins, we're going to gain 180 health and 4 empowered. Like, that is piece number 1 that we're going to try and pull off with this build. Other than that, there's just not a lot of really high-powered things you can do with this stuff, right? The only other useful thing with the heart container is going to be items like Bloodthorn or items like Hungry Blade. I really feel like if you're wanting to go down the path of using a Bloodthorn, you should probably just be in a Thorns build and not be within a Hearts build. And then there's nothing. Right, there's literally nothing else that uses them. The lightsaber does allow you to drain out your hearts, but it's not like a stackable buff, and so it does get to drop those 8 blinds on your opponent essentially right at the beginning of the battle. But since they don't stack, your opponent's just going to kind of fight through it, since it doesn't hit. It's not like we get to come out and generate 16 hearts and then hit your opponent 5 times in a row and then just stack them up to like 40 blinds and have this thing do big damage and have a big damage prevent with it. It just does the one and then sucks ass from there. And so it's a bit of a bummer from that viewpoint. And then if you're wanting to say, well, instead of going after the hearts, maybe you should go after the mana, that's not a horrible thought. But there's just not a lot of real early game mana items to chase after. The magic staff is fine. This is what you would have as kind of like a premier early to mid game item to tie off with the Yggdrasil Leaf, but it's very challenging to actually find the mana orbs in the early game. You then also run into the problem of being able to find one of the activators for one of the big ones. I've run into multiple games to where I've gotten to the very end, just didn't see a crit wood ring, didn't see a poison potion, trying to fend off our opponent's full strength builds with just a magic staff. And so it's a real pain point in that way. The only other early game stuff would be like a magic torch, which is a 4 item combo, or a very late game option in the dark saber, which I actually think is better than the staff. But just not a lot of really good mana based options to tie in with the the Yggdrasil Leaf. The other thing that tends to be really mega awkward with the likes of the Yggdrasil Leaf is that it comes down it generates 15 mana, and then it immediately sinks 10 mana into something like the glowing crown. And so you burn through the bonus heal that you would get, even though you don't need it because it's right at the beginning of the battle. It's like, oh cool, I'm at 100% health and vulnerable from the glowing crown. Let's activate this leaf twice and just get literally nothing from it. And so there's just all around a ton of awkwardness that ties in with the leaf and with the Vineweave bag. Just on the grand scale of things, I think healing is a terrible way to go. If you want to have the choice to sustain through damage or deal damage, you would always prefer to be dealing damage, and these items just tie into just a flat out bad strategy. And so, we'll try our best. We'll see what we can do. I hope I can impart my knowledge upon you as far as chasing down the leaf goes. And so let's see what we can see. My other favorite part of the Ranger bag, the high roll round right at the beginning of the game. Let's see what all turns up here. Did we get a good amulet? We did not. We could sell it. It's the Amulet of Alchemy. I'd be looking for a build around amulet here. We would ideally find the energy one, the one that gives you refunds when you spend a buff, or we want to find the stone one. The stone one is quite good, especially in the early game. But don't want the potion thing. I guess we'll hold on to it for just a moment, because we might want these 3 buffs at the beginning of the first round, but I doubt it. And so now we can actually be pretty aggressive with what we do in our rolling. We found a weapon. What I tend to have problems with here is I like to roll really aggressively on the first round, but you do sometimes find yourselves without a weapon going into the first battle. But with the short bow turning up, that looks pretty good. Nothing on sale here, so I'm going to take a roll. Now we've got a couple of more on sale items, very sustain heavy with both the herbs and the banana. No complaints coming from that. So let's see if we can't have a little bit of success here in the first round. We do have an option to potentially sell this Amulet of Alchemy. Gaining 3 buffs on the first turn isn't really worth it. This is not an item we're going to keep for very long, but I don't want to add in like a stone and a shiny shell. I don't really want to add in a walrus tusk. Like, I guess that would be the most practical thing to do at this point, is to cut the amulet, sell the stone, and then walrus tusk up the short bow. Maybe that's not horrible. I just hate paying full price on these walrus tusks. It's such a shitty item on its own, but this tusk poker will help carry us through the early game fairly far. All right, how are we holding up here? Just getting zinged down. We need to hold this guy off until he hits fatigue, and then ideally we can sustain through the fatigue a little bit better than him. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. We're about to start getting blasted here. Womp womp. It's close. All right, more healing herbs. This is good stuff. I ideally with the healing herbs, I'll take all of them, right? I'll take all of the healing herbs that turn up, but 4 or 5 of them tends to be pretty good with these leaf builds. It gives you, a strong amount of sustain in the early game, and then it funds those heart containers in the late game. It also fills out your bag so that you can get kind of max activations from the Vineweave basket and from the leaf, since these 1 hex items move around pretty well. But that looks good. I want to pick up this bag, but we don't have the use for it at this exact moment, so I'm just going to pick up the pan, lock in the bag up at the top. Might as well pick up the Lucky Clover since it's on sale. We can just sell it next round. And let's jump in here. Picking up that little bit more sustain, we should probably be able to win a lot of these rounds now. Whew. All right, good stuff out there. Feeling pretty good about this one. Picking up a victory. Feels good, my friends. Feels good. It's probably got to be our last one on the day, and so you gotta take your victories where they turn up. Okay, and so in the real world, what I would look to be doing is just picking up this Thorn Whip, right? This is a very ideal point to just go ahead and do it. I think we might end up doing it here because one of the things I actually have considered with the Thorn Whip and these leaf style of builds is just moving over to the moving over to the Thornbloom. It gives us a little bit more way to use the Empowered. Now, the downside with Thornbloom is that Empowered isn't a lot, right? Only gaining 8 health off of an Empowered. If you want to say gain 20 Empowered over the course of a battle, that's only 160 health. Like, it's not a ton as far as late game builds are concerned, and gaining 20 Empowered is really fucking challenging to do. It's more likely that you're going to gain like 5, and 40 health is fairly negligible. But it seems like something that's probably just reasonable here. And so it's like if we pick up the bag, sell the pan, add in the thorn leaf, this should help carry us pretty far into the game. Otherwise, I keep wanting these wooden bucklers to be good, and it's just not going to be good. And so you run into too many builds to where it just does literally nothing. And so in the early game, if you want your item to only work in like half of the battles, and then have it be too bad for the late game, it's just not gonna carry you very far. All right, not a bad start. Pretty decent early game. I mean, this is one of the things I kind of consider with this build. You know, you don't see it nearly as much in backpack battles, but it's definitely a concept in things like Teamfight Tactics, as to where you're not playing your build to first, you're playing your build to like third, fourth, which is still a win. I would like to think that this like Ranger Basket Leaf is something that would be exceptionally good at getting to the survival rounds, because the heal is actually quite good up and through the first few rounds, and then you just assume I'm never going to have a late game build, you know, but I got the victory I wanted, and it just doesn't feel like it's even strong enough to do that. Like, even if you just completely gear your build towards hitting survival and quitting, it just doesn't feel like it can do it. And so it's been a real pain point for me as far as this thing goes. But nonetheless, let's pick up this bag. What else we got here? Crit Wood Ring. I've been avoiding these pretty heavily. It's a tough thing in the sense that it's an expensive item that just does a whole lot of nothing at this point, right? It gives us 5% crit off of the Lucky Clover. We're not really guaranteed to get clovers in any other way, and so we need to let it go. But if we do want to come out and build Critwood Staffs, then we do need this stupid thing to turn up. And so I've really just been looking more towards Serpent Staffs. It feels a little bit easier to find the Pestilence Flasks if we do go down the path of mana. And it's just way too early to pick up something like Acorn Collar here. And so we'll let it go. There is another bag we can pick up. We're getting a little bit bag heavy at this point, but I think it's at least okay for now. And then with these, I do want to get the banana in the bag. Get as much healing as we can in here. All right, next round. Look at this guy showing off his wand. He says, "LOL, bust. Nice try. Nice try getting wands and doing wand builds." Ugh. But it's one of the things to me, as far as the wands go with the leaf, it's like even if they do turn up, I typically like it. There's just better, right? I would rather just go with pet builds with wands as opposed to actually make a leaf build. But here, moving forward, I think we're okay still to just pick up this bag. Like, I'm definitely picking up the healing herbs and picking up the banana, just right on point with what we're wanting to do. We're a little bit bag heavy at this point, but I guess it's okay. It at least has us in the spot to where if an armor turns up, then we can still fit it in the bags. And so, kind of interested in having it in that sense. I guess it's not the greatest reason, but it is a reason. Now we got good lineups with our bananas. They're going to be up and running. Our stamina should hold out through the battles. Eight healing herbs is pretty decent in the early game. Again, it's very tough for a lot of these builds to fight through. So hopefully we're looking good. Fairly strong flame whip here, but he's going to be out of stamina pretty hard. Good to see how RNGesus blesses us with the timings on these activations. It's a very high damage whip that he had, but he had all of those other whips getting in the way. All right, So moving forward, nothing too interesting here. I don't really want the carrots since we don't have the clovers to actually activate it. It's just a bit of a waste. I got to start taking rolls and seeing what turns up. There is a stamina sack. I just don't think we need the bags at this moment. We need like an actual upgrade to our build. Nothing turning up here, just all garbage. Okay, but here's our final build around, and so we can pick up this heroic potion, make the thorn bloom. I guess this is just the way that we're going to be going here today, is trying to go for this empowered leaf build, gaining a bunch of max health off of the thorn whip. The the kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't thing with it is like, it's very interesting to me with these max health style of builds as to where we're going to be looking to gain just a ton of health over the course of the game. Then the idea you could have is that you can just sustain some of that health back. So if you just think of what the vampiric armor does, right, it deals damage to you in exchange for armor, and then assuming you're in a vampiric build, you get to heal back some of that health you traded for the armor. So it's like a nice set of synergies across the board. But what you run into with like the build we're going to be here today is like we just come out and spend all of our hearts right at the beginning, and then we just don't have any sustain. We don't have any way to heal that damage back up, and so it's a bit awkward in that sense, but we'll try and make the most of it. Now here, very interesting shop. Of course, this is the way life works, right? As soon as you make your you make your thorn bloom, both a mana orb and a shield of valor turn up on sale, and so I don't think we can pass these up. These are too good. But what I'm kind of having in mind here is where I'm looking to get the synergies is we'll probably just use the thorn whip as our main weapon. We might be able to fit an additional weapon in. But I'm going to be looking to come over and build towards the stone armor. If we can get this this big like health gain tied into our armor from the empowered, that's quite good. And then just these, gain 90 armor at the start of the battle, going up 30% for the shield of valor is a very effective use of the items. And so I think I'm just going to go ahead and mana orb shield of valor, convert that into a mana shield, whatever that's called. That does let us get the blocks onto ranged attacks, so we can stop everything with this. And then we'll have to just kind of decide how we want to come out and try and spend our mana, right? We're going to have a bunch of mana with this build. We could still look towards a wand. We'll need to kind of keep in the back of our minds that maybe adding in a broom is the way to go here towards the end game, but maybe the other thing to chase after would just be something like King Goobert, and instead of spending the mana on a wand. The other thing you could kind of look towards is just to say build a magic torch. It's kind of late in the game to find all of the items to make a magic torch, but it would give us a way to drain out some of that mana. So let's see, we want the orb, we want the shield, nothing else in here. Let's take a roll real quick and see if we can't find a bag. Okay, we did have one turn up. We can sell off the clover and pick this bag up. Is this stuff gonna fit down here nice and easy? Sure is. Okay, and then do we want to put the lock-in on the corrupted crystal? It's a little expensive, but it's something that we definitely want. Like I still really like chasing after these Cap of Discomforts, especially with these Yggdrasil leaf builds that tend to sustain into the later portions of the round. And so I think I'll go ahead and take a lock on it. Surprised no piggy banks up to this point. We haven't really done anything for our economy, but it's definitely too late for that. Up against the double spears. I have spent a fair amount of time losing LP this week with holy spears. They're still garbage. just FYI, just so you know. I've had no success with them whatsoever this week. But all right, we picked up our friend the Yggdrasil leaf. Want to pick up the corrupted crystal. We're going to skip past the things like the hungry blade. I just don't see us landing on... I don't see us landing on... excuse me, full on mana builds this round. The thing that's interesting to me is there is the blood amulet. It gives us another armor based way um, to gain health. The downside to the blood amulet and the vampiric armor is going to be we don't get a ton of vampiric out of this build. Like the same concepts apply between the vampiric armor and the stone armor, to where we're trying to take advantage of that regen, but it's not nearly as much. It's a good deal with it being on sale, but I think I'm gonna skip past it. Make a make a sad noise as we go, and just let that one go. All right, so here's reasonable enough position on the leaf. It's just about everything, right? Where we can get capped off with the leaf like this. Only 2 spots left within the bag. It's not a real big deal. Missing out on 6% heal, right? It's just such a small number. I don't know what number we would need the heal to be at for this thing to not be miserable, but it's probably a lot closer to like 10. Like I have to feel like if you filled out every slot within the Vineweave basket to get double healing, that it's probably just not too much. It's just not too much, right? As it stands with our healing right now, we're getting 4 health per second. Right, is getting 8 health per second at the cost of completely filling out this bag with garbage too much? I mean, maybe. I don't know. Our Thornbloom only naturally does 4.5. The Tuskpoker, it's like we only have 6 or 7 natural DPS here, and so maybe it is too much, but these items are just such garbage. Such bad items. But here's where things hopefully start to pop off, right? We get to kick the battle off with that 16 health or 16 hearts. Ideally, those hearts will then immediately activate heart containers, give us some extra max health, give us some empowered, really power up the build for what we're looking to do within the round. But you can see here, these things just go on forever, right? We're hitting fatigue within this round. You could see the corrupted crystal actually coming in and doing work, and so it definitely takes some time to get these things up and running. All right, let's take the bag. What else we got here? Here's a cap of resilience for the upgrades to start coming in. We do need to get some amount of scaling in here. I don't think we'll be able to activate gen lamps, which is a bit unfortunate. We can get the mana, we can get the thorns, we can't really get the clovers to ever come in and activate this thing. Like, if we wanted it to work, we would need to start adding in like Wolpentingers or adding in flutes or something. I just don't really see it happening. The other interesting thing here is we do have a health potion. We can make a mana potion out of it. I guess if we want to try and make a torch, we have the makings of it, right? We have the wooden sword, we have the health potion, we have the blueberries out here. I think I'm going to try and start making a torch at this point. And so let's lock in the goods we need to make that happen. Let's do something like this. I get that this is a completely horrific setup for the mana potion, but I think it'll be fine. After this round, I guess I'll look to move some of these fanny packs down here onto the Thornbloom and be a little bit more effective. I haven't paid a ton of attention to our stamina, though. I don't want to ramp it up too much to where we're like both making the Thornbloom attack faster and make the banana activate slower, and then we're just not getting our attacks in. All right, decent stuff. The wooden sword is here. The scaling and the oil lamp is good. One more healing herbs I think will be okay. And then let's do some rearranging. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, at this point, we could end up just taking out the tusk poker. Like, it's served its purpose. We're kind of done with the tusk poker at this point. But it's not completely unreasonable to think that we don't have enough sustain to keep that up and running at this point. All right, so yeah, I am a bit concerned that that we're going to be too stamina heavy with this setup, right? We've taken the percent off of the banana from the the fanny pack, we've cut out the blueberries, and now we've made the thorn bloom attack faster. I do think we're going to run into stamina problems this round. We could still just see how it goes, but I don't think it's going to be that great. Probably just need to sell the tusk poker at this point. I don't know. It's held up so far. I'm surprised this has gone on for so long. That was a much more high-powered opponent than we are here. But all right, fanny pack in. Hopefully some of this stuff will turn up. Okay, here's the lump of coal to get us up and running with this. Get us up and running with this mana torch, and so that'll be decent. Give us some more scaling. Give us another melee-based weapon to continue on with the attacks. Something that can come in and eventually activate Yggdrasil Leafs, and so that'll be okay. That'll be good. That'll be fine. I'm like little interested in things like Prismatic Orb. I don't think we're gonna have enough heal with this build to actually make it work well, and I'm a little bit more interested in just finding heart containers at this point, and so I am going to skip past that. I am interested in this on sale dragon though. Such a good deal having these things turn up, and so let's add that guy into the mix. I was hoping to make this all work out nicely with this potion belt. Alright, well, something like this will get us started. And so, what are we missing on? One hex leaf, other hex for the leaf. That looks good. Things are coming together, coming together nicely in here. Do have space for the mana potion now. Alright, alright. I like where things are going. I did see that our stamina usage went up to high. Though the wooden sword does use an extra half stamina per second. And so we're definitely going to start running into a few stamina problems here, but I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be manageable. Like just finding one like yellow potion should do a ton of work in terms of fixing our stamina. So a bit of a bummer there, but I think it's okay. We can also again look to pull the thorn bloom and stuff out of these fanny packs. Okay, so there's our first heart container. See if we can't get it up and running before the battles end and before we lose all of our stuff out here. So the problems of the world. So yeah, let's see. I'm gonna swing back and put these bananas in the fanny packs here. Get this blueberry out here. Well, something in line with this, so that we get the additional activations on our stamina. We aren't just out here losing it round after round. So that looks decent. Do need to get the ruby egg in. I think we'll probably struggle a little bit getting all of our activators on the leaf. We're just missing one at this point. Missing two. That's not so bad. Not that bad at all. Okay, we got our heart container locked in. See if we can't survive this round. Dude, bringing out the goobs. What's this oil lamp even trying to target? Nothing? A little bit of whoopsies, I guess. It still seems like we're just getting murdered out here. I don't know. Doesn't seem like our sustain is enough to sit through this, even with the the lamp not scaling up as weapons. Oh, brutal round. Okay, well, at least we've gotten to this point to where where the heart container gets to come in, and we get to show it just a little bit. And so welcome to the squad. Heart container, and on sale healing herbs is good. We need this banana as well. Hopefully we can make all of this stuff fit in a reasonable fashion. It's like we'll have to miss out on 1 hex of healing for the leaf again. That's not so bad. The additional stamina for the banana is in. And okay, and so how much farther we'll make it, I'm not certain. But again, this is the way that I've had the most success, and I found the strongest way to go after these leaf builds is with this heart container. I'm glad it actually turned up, so we could showcase it a little bit. But as soon as the battle starts, we're going to spend 7 hearts. That's fine. We're generating like 16. We're going to get that max health bonus. We're going to get that healing bonus, and we're going to get the empowered all right at the start. And so it's a great set of synergies, a great way to actually come in and use these items at the beginning. Man, another Goobert build. This is a pain point. I did just realize we don't have our dragon on the mana torch here, and so do need to figure out how to get that sorted. But we got a victory, you can't just lose every single round, huh? Let me purchase some stuff and we'll come back to that. All right, another on sale oil lamp. There's a dragon egg in here. I think it's probably a little late to be chasing after another dragon. We're really struggling out here to win rounds as it is. I don't hate picking up additional cap of resiliences. I feel like as these games kind of drudge on, then we're going to be at more of an advantage given the large amounts of sustain that we have. But yeah, I don't know. I'm having a hard time getting amped up about it. We come down here like this, trying to find a reasonable way to. I don't like how that went. We're gonna have to do something like this. Right, I wanna get these the magic torch on both the whelp and the thornbloom, and then I'm kind of undecided on how I want these oil lamps to go. I tend to like putting stuff onto the ruby whelps, onto the dragons, because they never don't attack. Right, if we spend a bunch of oil lamps hitting on the thornbloom, then the thornbloom runs out of stamina. We don't get to put the damage in, but we always get to deal damage with the ruby whelp, and so I tend to try and line the damage up on it. So we could look to do something like this, and so now we're really stacking heavy on this dragon with both oil lamps and the magic torch giving it bonuses. I like it. I definitely don't hate it. That looks good. Missing out on 1 hex on the leaf, that's not that big of a deal. I think this is probably as good as it's going to get. Do we want to lock in any of this other stuff? I guess we'll go ahead and pick up the leather bag. Okay, we can move on from here. What's this guy doing? He's still got a shovel? It doesn't seem like things have gone your way if you've still got a shovel at this point. All right, look at that. We got a victory. Are we gonna make it to the survival round? It's so close, huh? So close. All right, so let's see. Let's get past this stuff. I mean, I don't hate picking up a leather armor. We definitely need a little bit more defensive, but it doesn't feel like it. Just like the flat 45 health doesn't seem that good at this point. Pick up a small bag. That does give us a little health. There is the Wolpentinger. I didn't watch our stamina, right? It's very interesting in the sense that we do start off with a ton of buffs, and we don't really burn through them, right? And so in the sense that we do have like 15 mana right at the start that we're only draining at whatever this is, like one mana per 1.5 seconds. And so I'm a little bit interested in it. I don't think our stamina drain has been too high to worry about. But, as you do go into the survival rounds, we don't really want bananas, right? Banana is not a late game item. We would prefer to be selling all of these off and just using Wolpentingers and using yellow potions to fund our late game needs. And so maybe it is worthwhile to just pick up the one here, although it's not exactly what we're looking for. It's just it sucks that it's just going to be like generating clovers that don't do anything, and so kind of bums me out, man. All right, the buff stealing pets out here. It's going to be taking all of our hearts. We did okay at the beginning. It seems like we're just getting nuked right at the end, though. He did have a round of invulnerability, which we don't have access to. Got down real close. That invulnerability definitely definitely did the deed, did the dirt in terms of hanging on just for that little bit. And so, very close to hitting survival. That's to me about as much as you can hope for with this dumbass build. Like these items just aren't very good. Like in my experience with the Ranger bag this week, like I would prefer to take this build and have just gone for the big bowl of treats. Like it just does so much more than the leaf itself. Like starting off the battle having the heart container activate is nice, but it's not strong enough. And the thing that really kind of like bums me out with this build as well is like this is about as hardcore into healing as you can go, right? We've got the heart container giving us bonus healing. We've got the bag pretty full at this point. Like the only thing that we would be missing would be like adding in a prismatic orb to scale up the healing in it even more. And healing is just so bad that it sucks that like the entirety of the build around is tied into that. And so like I don't know entirely what the answer would be here. If the ranger needs something like the staff of unhealing to make the healing not as garbage or something, I don't know. But the things that I've found over the course of this past week are just the Vineweave basket is trash and the Yggdrasil leaf is trash, and this is kind of the best way that you have to go about it. And it's very easy to say like, Bust, you didn't go for a wand build, you didn't go for mana. Like that's what you should be doing, and it's not bad. Like I definitely make that concession to you that you should probably be trying to tie in a little bit more towards mana as you go towards these leaf builds, but it just takes so much to actually get together. Like like in this game, like I get that we could have not made the mana shield and we could have probably just picked up a broom at some point, but then we still would have had to have like circled back and find the upgrade mechanic for the wand as well, to where I think the magic torch just kind of gets it done on its own. Like what was our deep sat on here is like we're at 15.9 on the whelp. What's his chonk at? His chonk even just got bigger. His chonk got bigger than our whelp with no effort. He does have 17 heat for empowered, boosting up the chonk there, but like to me this is just kind of the way that you have to go about it with this style of build. And so if you found something more effective with this bag and with this item, be sure to let me know. I wouldn't be opposed to coming back and circling around to it, but to me something has to just be bad, right? That's the way every meta works. Everything can't be good within a meta. There's never going to be a meta to where every single like class combo has a reasonable share. Something has to be the best and something has to be the worst, and I'm pretty certain this is just the worst. And so once we kind of get past that, it's a little easier of a pill to swallow. But nonetheless, good stuff. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hopefully maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. This is Bust and me. Thank you for being here.